Hey everybody, it's our news roundtable. It's Friday. My guests, Tammy Camp, blogger extraordinaire, William Quigley, venture capitalist extraordinaire, Lon Harris is going to read the news, and Tyler Crowley is somewhere in Florida. We'll find out later. He's going to drop some insights remotely. All that and more right now on This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah, money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah, we ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Introducing the newest members of the This Week in Startups producer program. On today's episode, we welcome William Quigley of Clearstone Venture Partners and investor, advisor, and entrepreneur Tammy Camp.
Hey everybody, it's Friday. Happy Friday. It's Friday. This is the holiday weekend, isn't it?
It is.
All right, so it's the holiday weekend. We've got a lot of news,
Break into Rebecca Black.
Friday. Hey, that meme's over. But one meme that is just beginning is the Twist Producers Program. I was just in Vegas hanging out. We had a lunch. All the members of the This Week in Startups back channel, this is where we all hang out on email and produce the show, are having a great time. There's 87 members now. And, hey, that's been great. We've raised $33,000 if everybody pays their annual dues. I think we collected about $14,000. The audience is now sponsoring the show, but then in exchange for that, we're on an email list discussing the show, who we want to have on the show. And then every time I go to a conference and I keynote something, I tell them, don't pay me, just give me 10 free tickets. And then I give those free tickets to the producers. So last time, 10 people came to FOA, 10 people came to the Rewrite Web Summit, and we all have lunch together. We discuss the show, how to make it better. And people are learning how to make a great show. So we're all sort of pioneering together, but then we discuss the topics, the guests, and it's been great for me because it makes the show more fun. When we hit 50 members, we doubled the rates. We're at 87 members right now, so the next 13 people are going to get in at this lower rates, but then we're going to double it again. Because I keep saying I'm going to just keep doubling it, so the people who come in later pay a little bit more, but people are paying $10, $20, $50, $100 a month to be part of the group. And it's basically like getting an MBA. So, hey, everybody, go check out the This Week in Startups producer program. Twistlist.co.
Something like this, new creative ideas, or it's at such a.
And you're on the list, right?
Oh, I see all these.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like
it's amazing. There's too much going on. I can't even keep up with all.
But you can put it on daily, or you can read it on the web, or you can get it on email.
I like getting them all. I find that I fall behind.
But it's fun. Like people are now like posting, like, here's my web project. Can I get some advice?
Yeah.
And people are going through advice.
It's turned into a real community.
Really
nice.
Which is great. Hey, Tyler, are you there? We got Tyler on remote. Tyler, are you there?
Yeah.
Hey, you're in Florida?
Yes.
Where in Florida are you?
Clearwater, Florida.
Clearwater, Florida.
Yeah.
On business, I assume.
Sure. You could call it business.
I never understand what.
How cagey and mysterious.
What is in Clearwater?
Nothing special.
I know, but last time you were like, you're in this place, and it was like, that's where the headquarters of like Starbucks was. It's like, you're always somewhere. Tammy Camp is with us, blogger and speaker and angel investor. Hi, Tammy, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Wow, a perfect connection. I love it. The power of Skype. And where are you? Where in the world are you?
I'm in NASA Ames right now, so I'm here on lockdown at NASA for the next 10 weeks.
Oh, you're part of the Singularity program, right?
Yeah, for the Singularity University program. So I was fortunate enough to get to spend the summer here. So doing amazing things.
That is amazing. The Singularity program, we had the CEO and founder of GetAround on just last week or 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
And he was in the first class. Is this the second class or the third?
This is the third class.
Third class.
Yeah.
And you pay $25,000 to go for 10 weeks to this intensive, crazy, like graduate school, or you get sponsored.
Exactly. Right. So I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship here.
Wow.
But yeah, the access to the amazing people that are part of this. I mean, like Steve Wozniak was just here this morning, and Andreas, one of the old chief scientists for Amazon.com, and a lot of government officials from NASA or the CIA. So it's kind of cool. It's very dynamic.
Awesome. We've been hearing a lot more about the Singularity, so we have to have Peter Diamantes and the group on at some point to talk about it. And one thing I just want to talk about for a moment is iStockphoto. iStockphoto, what a great sponsor. They've been to the program. Over 9 million royalty-free photos, illustrations, videos, and audio tracks. I was just on the other day getting images for our Chile meetup. We wanted to make images and logos, or actually web page designs, not logos. And so we're looking for high-quality, affordable stock. This is the way to do it. If you're making a website, like I was actually looking at the Ranker website, you could have better images. The images are not so good. So I'm going to just...
We're actually, we have a couple designers on the team that are working on some
But let me
new
just give you one
concepts.
suggestion.
Please.
Go to iStockphoto. Will you do this for a week?
Sure.
I'll pay for it.
Oh, if you're paying for it, yes.
I'll pay for
the
it.
answer is yes.
All right. Go to iStockphoto for a week. Use 5 photos on your homepage from iStockphoto. I'll pay for it.
Okay.
And then tell me what your experience is with it. Will you do that for me?
We'll talk about it on the next
Okay,
next
great.
show.
All right, so you go ahead and do that, and you'll see how affordable the prices are, how flexible the options are, and we are giving away a free MacBook Air as part of this. You just go to thisweekinstartups.com/contests, thisweekinstartups.com/contests, no, /contest, and you can go there and just click, and enter yourself into the contest. Thank you again. Oh, I already signed up for it. Thank you again to iStockphoto for sponsoring This Week in Startups. Independent media is not cheap to produce. Give us the first story.
Sure. Well, big thing, overwhelming response to this story. Everybody wanted to hear about it. Is Google's latest foray into social. Google Plus is the company's new platform. Once again, built off of Gmail contacts, but for connecting people. This time they're putting people into groups called circles that you make up of subsets of your social graph. So you'd have a circle for friends, one for coworkers, one for family members, and so on. Other features of Google Plus include Hangout, which is a group video chat with everybody who's in a certain circle. Huddles, which is group mobile messaging. Instant Uploads, where you can share photos and videos from Picasa or YouTube, and Sparks, which is really interesting and seems to sort of be flying under the radar so far, which is you can create topic pages using Google search and then share individual topics that get shared with you, with your circle, and it comes up in your stream. The Google Plus toolbar also debuted, allowing you to share and send photos, videos, links, and messages with a notification icon at the top to inform you when others have shared with you. So obviously this is being touted as a Facebook killer, Twitter killer, competitor to all those. Is it? Do you think that this really is a dramatic threat to Twitter or Facebook's business? And what do you think they're doing different, better, or worse now than with Wave and with Buzz and some of these other sort of non-starter projects?
Bill, let me just throw that over to you. Have you played with it yet? And what do you think?
Yes, I have, and we're not, obviously, it's way too early, right? We won't know for a year as to whether or not this is going to be a meaningful piece of Google's business. But let's understand, what makes Facebook an interesting economic business is the fact that people play games on Facebook. Over half of the time and half of the money, I think it's 60% of the money Facebook
and maybe 40 or 50% of the time is games.
Is games, right?
Which is Zynga.
Which is Zynga and Playdom and a whole bunch of other companies. So I make this point only because people don't go to Facebook and stay very long just to look at the updated pictures. They go because they're engaged in an application, usually
But a third of it is photos. So it's basically games and photos are the majority of the application.
It is. And so are people going to, no one's going to abandon Facebook. At least not right now, right? Maybe in 5 years. So they are going to have to be able to make it very easy to replicate whatever you're doing at Facebook, that they can capture that. And I think Facebook is going to make that troubling for them to get that done. So to me, that's, as far as a killer, I think they're way, way late. And if all they're doing is mimicking what Facebook already does, there's nothing interesting there.
Yeah. Tammy, what are your thoughts? Did you get to play with it yet, or have you gotten invited?
I've gotten invited, but I haven't gotten a chance to play with it yet. But it's just, you know, when I saw it, I'm like, really, again, Google trying to get in the social platforms. I mean, that's just not what their core abilities are, and I think that they should just focus on their core strengths and leave it to Facebook and Twitter to continue on with that, because it's just, you know.
You're right. That is the key issue with Google. I mean, Google at the end of the day is a technology company, right?
They're not very social.
Right.
They don't know how to do it.
Let's face it.
Remember, but yet Larry Page put all their compensation is based on their ability to get social done.
I know. There's a bonus pool now that they're eligible for. But the point is, cultures are very hard to change.
You say these are antisocial people?
Possibly.
Well, maybe
And
not the most social.
remember their ads for how they would hire people?
Yes.
Figure out this bizarre,
Yeah.
mathematical formula. That's not the sort of character or
Right.
values you would expect to find in an organization that's inviting everybody in.
But then again, Mark Zuckerberg is a little bit odd socially as well. I can say that having met
But I
him
would
a
say
bunch of times.
Google.
I mean, I
is-
also saw the documentary on him.
Right,
The Social
that
Network?
David Fincher one last year.
Yeah, I can't believe David Fincher was
Followed
doing-
him around for years.
incredible, yeah.
At some level, Google, at least from who they hire, is an exclusionary organization. How
they are
are
elitist. They're Mensa.
Yes.
They're the
So-
elitist Mensa of our industry.
So for them to say we're going to embrace social, which is everybody gets in,
Right.
I think there's a tension there in that organization. It's going to be hard for them to
Fascinating.
mimic. And let's face it, in this world, if you want to mimic somebody, you're not going to get anybody to move over to your products. You have to do better.
They do better.
Something new.
Tyler, what are your thoughts? You've been playing with it.
Yeah.
Rated on a scale of 1 to 10. How impressed are you?
Impressed? I would put it at a 8.5.
I see. I'm with you, Tyler. I'm going to take the contrarian position here. I think that this is brilliant.
And then Google has, let's kind of work backwards. Google did Gmail.
Right.
And we would say Gmail successful.
Right. But it, yes, and it was
it's
successful.
Economically, no. We
No,
would
but
say-
in terms of usage and a brilliant product, and also now the Google Apps business they've built on top of
Yeah.
it in a freemium style, that's
Yeah.
a pretty successful business too.
Right.
And Google-
92% of Google's revenue is AdSense
Right.
and advertising.
And this is a moat strategy, right? Like they're
It
giving
is.
away Android, they're giving away social networking, and they're giving away Gmail and email and
right.
document
a little bit
management.
of Microsoft strategy there.
Yeah, basically moating, as we say in the industry, basically protecting the castle.
That's right.
But what impressed you about it so much, Tyler?
I love the design of it.
Design is
They absolutely nailed
very solid.
the number one pain point that people have with Facebook, which is the ease of organizing into groups.
Yes. In fact, they force you to do that. Let me show that here, because I think that this is the key piece. Take a look at the monitors, everybody. Here is my list of friends, or here's a bunch of people who are in my circles, et cetera, my contacts. So I can grab somebody over here. I'll just pick somebody at random. Now I can take a friend of mine like this one here, and I can drag him into my friends group. He's already in there. Or I can say, hey, he's a founder and CEO, and boom, it just magically adds him to this list. You can only add people to your social network if you put them into a circle.
Right.
Which means when you go then to post, right? So now that I've put Mike Arrington into founders and CEO and friends, or I can put Matt Cutts from Google here over into Peeps, where I already put him in there. I'll put him into Pundits I Respect. I think I put him there too. I have a Googler group. Actually, I put him into my Googler group. So I put Matt Cutts into the Googler group.
It's interesting you're choosing to subdivide so much.
I am, because and then when I go to, look at this though, when I go to update, I can say, this is a post to only Googlers. And I can say, it keeps your last group of people that you...
right, which I think is actually, I have almost made this mistake already.
Oh, yes. It's a
People are
dangerous
going
thing.
to send the things to the wrong group.
Right, like they just sent to Googlers, and now
Yeah.
they're sending to Facebook.
They're going to have to come up
So
with
here-
something,
grandmas.
revert back to everything back to public so people get used to it, something, because that's going to happen a lot.
So now this post I just sent was only to Googlers, and I will get, and that's kind of interesting to me, is that they forced that, and that is a direct, I believe, response to the privacy issues. Another interesting thing, I had emailed Larry Page when he took over as CEO to congratulate him. I just put him in a note. I know him casually through some friends. And I said, if you're going to really take social seriously, you need to get a Twitter account. And you need to start using it, because Sergey's got one, but they don't use it. Eric uses it. Schmidt uses it like once every 3 months. Lo and behold, today I wake up and I look, and Larry Page is here. And he's showing photos of himself kiteboarding in Alaska, which, usually CEOs, billionaires don't like to share this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that this is the most important part of this. I'll tell you this. Organizations run from the top down. I've always believed that. I always will. Larry Page is sharing kite photos. He gets it. Then you go over to Mark Zuckerberg, and I've never seen somebody this unhappy. I mean, I don't think Mark's looked this unhappy since he couldn't get a date at Harvard. I mean, he looks really upset, doesn't he? I mean, that is the look of a scared person.
I think that's...
Or is he pissed off or scared? Tammy, what do you think? When you look in Zuckerberg's eyes, so give us your assessment. Is that scared, pissed off, or does he look like the Terminator, like he is going to kill this?
He looks like he's in a lineup.
Oh, he does actually. Very good.
If I was an animal that humans regularly eat, I'd be very freaked out right now.
Yes. Oh, right, because
he looks like he's sharpening the knives.
He's gonna gut us.
He's getting
anyway,
ready.
But the other feature, just to go give people a mini product tour here, that is really fascinating. So you have this concept of circles. You put your friends in circles. Circles you consider groups, but and a very beautiful, elegant design. And then what makes it really interesting is I can, you know how it suggests friends to you? So here's Dana Boyd as a friend of mine. I could just very easily, I don't even have to click. This is a really interesting design element. You hover over it, and then it shows you who these people are. I say, oh, well, she's a pundit I love. I have a group called Pundits I Love, and I have peeps, as in like serious friends of mine. So now she's in that group, and I didn't have to leave the page or do anything.
It's a lot. That reminds me of Gmail. It's like adding people into tabs in Gmail.
Here's another killer feature, Hangouts. So I click Start a Hangout, and this is the feature everybody's talking about. This is the most elegant Skype killer I've ever seen. So I got to install its plugins. It'll take a second. But basically, it's group chat for 10 people, and it works brilliantly. Have you played with? Have you played with Plus One? I didn't hear your comments. Let's hear your general comments.
Plus One.
Scale of 1 to 10.
I think as a product, it's a 7 or an 8.
Or out of the gate. So you get 7 or 8, you got 8.5, and I'm giving it a 9.
I really like the design. I think it's fun to play around in. It's sticky. Like you go in,
very
you use
quick,
it a little
snappy.
bit. And I think the genius of it is no matter what Google, if you're logged into Google, any Google site you're on, it's just constantly living there at the top of your page.
Correct.
So that it's just very like you're on Google Docs typing something, and it's like, oh, I got a new message. That's super compelling, and that's something Twitter and Facebook, I don't like push notifications from them. But I'll go into Google.
I need the studio password in here. If somebody's got the studio password, I can write it down on a piece of paper.
But you know, here's what I wonder. There's far less time today for people on the web on the web than there was 5 years ago, because people have now divided up their time in a bunch of different areas. Social networking being the dominant place people spend their time, then gaming. Well, are they going to try to peel away people from doing those existing activities, or are they going to try to get people to spend more time online? Because there's virtually everybody who has an internet address now has a Facebook account. So where is this additional time going to come from? You know, and therefore, it may be great product, even a better product if it was built 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But today it's the game over. Skype killer. You know, people have adopted Skype. It's the world's largest phone company.
Yeah.
1 billion users just.
I don't know, but I'm looking at this Google Hangouts and I'm thinking, my gosh, I could do a This Week in Startup show.
So William's got good points, but the kind of unspoken aces that Google has in that regard is they own the browser and the hardware on your phone. True. When you add those two factors in, they can get really crazy.
That was actually something I was going to say. Is I haven't, because I have an iPhone, I haven't gotten to check out the mobile experience for this, but people who have Android phones are saying it's pretty slick. So I think that could be a big deal as well.
So here, I've joined this Hangout. It's asking me.
Here.
So people will come to it in a second, and when they do, you can share and mute and all this kind of stuff.
I think the best thing that can happen to consumers as a result of this is it will just nudge Facebook to innovate a little faster.
Well, they're a fast innovating company. Would it make them behave better?
What I mean by innovation is how quickly they're willing to revamp their site. They tend to look at this as almost like Coke Classic, right? They don't like making major modifications to the interface. They give you new capabilities and whatnot. But this will cause them to do kind of a back and forth ping-ponging between Google and Facebook, each of them trying to elevate the experience, I think, more quickly than before. That I would see as a positive. But I mean, if I had to rank it today, obviously premature, I would still say Facebook is going to be the dominant social network.
Huh. Interesting. Yes. So Facebook, I don't think anybody doubts Facebook will still be that way, but I feel like the same way Gmail chipped away at Yahoo Mail over the last 5 years and Hotmail, and it was just like at a certain point having those email extensions was sort of like old, and then this was new. And here, by the way, I've pulled up the Hangout. I think that they've got a chance to chip away at it. Here's Google Hangout. As you can see, I've already got like 10 people who just automatically joined. They're waving.
The advantage here, I mean, it's faster and more immediate than Skype. You don't have to know anybody's Skype name. You don't have to be in any communication with them before. You can just click on their name. But at the same time, I do feel like there is social network fatigue out there. That everybody's done this so many times, gone into the new system,
every time I think that,
friends.
but they're doing it again. And when I did the talk at FO, I asked how many people use Facebook for their photo sharing. And like maybe 20% of the audience raised their hand. I said, how many people use another service for photo sharing like Instagram or whatever? The other 2/3. Other 3/4 really. They've lost the avant-garde for photos, clearly. And then for games, will they? I believe they're going to lose games to this little one. Look at the Chrome store here. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Angry Birds in the Chrome Web Store, in your browser, the price free, and I installed it, and it's Angry Birds on your desktop. I think you're going to see, I think this is going to be very, very powerful. So I think
distinguish between super casual games where they're not destination-oriented activities. You're on Facebook and you might as well play Farmville. Versus Angry Birds. Angry Birds is something that you decide to do, right?
So there's your progression too. It gets harder.
It's a little different.
I agree. It's a little different, but I think you're going to start seeing these things.
And keep in mind, Facebook is going to do some form of partnership with Skype. I'm certain of that. And you will probably find, here's the thing to look for. If we start to see Facebook employees getting hired by Google, that will be an interesting shift.
Tammy, you said?
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with William that Skype and Facebook have already partnered. They've already integrated it into their system this week.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to definitely watch this Google Plus. I think this is
it's great for all of us.
And I think I mean, 18 months ago, I wrote the Google Buzz was the real deal, and they stopped innovating on it. And now you see all the work. I mean, essentially, I guess they didn't think it was good enough. They put it out there, and they said, hey, we got to really do this better, and they stopped that. But this is what Google Buzz could have been, and just the fact that it's using your contacts and how quickly I am up and running in this instantly.
That is true. You get started right away. It does still have the Wave and Buzz issue of, unless you have a ton of people in your Gmail contacts who are also early adopters, it takes a little. At the beginning, it's a little bit of a ghost town. You have to spend time on the front end to develop it, and then once you do, it's great.
Here is the best part of all this. This is the best moment, I think. Here comes. What movie is this from?
I don't know what this is from.
Anyway, I think that is the +1 giving the Facebook logo the bitch slap. Boom. There it is. Pretty funny image. Let's go on to the next one.
Great segue into another one of our stories that I posted this morning. Facebook has sent out invites for a special event on Wednesday in their Palo Alto offices that will apparently include a new product launch. Mark Zuckerberg, speaking about the event this week, said that they will be revealing something, quote, awesome. Reuters is reporting that whatever the product is, it was developed at the company's Seattle office. That we should note, they have been focused on mobile up there. So some of the big guesses are either an iPad app, a mobile photo app, something else. Any guesses from the team here? And I'd also like to hear what you guys think about the timing of this. Are they stealing some of Google Plus's thunder, or are they going to get totally overshadowed by this new social network?
Well, if they had any brains, of course they're trying to steal some of Google's thunder. That would make sense. I would be surprised, I have to say, if it's an iPad app. Just from what I have gathered over the last few months, they don't want to give all of that value to Apple. It could happen, but I'm going to say...
they're in a little bit of a cold war with Apple as well. I mean, Apple went with Twitter as their messaging system. Steve Jobs publicly admonished Zuckerberg over privacy a couple of times.
Yes.
I'm
saying it's 40% chance it's an iPad app, and other than that, I would guess it as something to do with mobile.
Yeah, I think it's going to be mobile, sexy iPad app, maybe native HTML5. Who knows? Tammy, what do you think? You hear anything about this? What do you think? What do you think's coming out of Facebook?
So now I just know all the Facebook engineers have been under serious lockdown here, so I'm excited to see what it is.
Yeah, but seriously, I'll tell you, there's a little bit of a tell here. In poker, when people are strong, they act weak, and when they're weak, they act strong. Zuckerberg is acting a little too strong here. Like, I'd never heard Zuckerberg talk about something coming as awesome. I think he just dropped awesome stuff and then let people say it's awesome or not. This is going to become. I think they tweaked him with the +1 launch. So unless he's going to launch his search engine, which I will guarantee you there'll be a search product coming out, and also the big announcement is going to be when they take their ads off of Google sites and allow me to put Facebook ads on my site. Facebook Sense is coming. I've heard from people that it's very close.
Whatever it is, 25% of the traffic is Facebook related in the U.S. That will be a serious threat to AdSense.
Well, I mean, imagine, and Google gets a third or so of its ad revenue off of its sites on publisher sites. So when publishers already have the +1, or I should say the Facebook like button, the Facebook like button could have right underneath it an ad.
Of course.
And they could just turn that on instantly. And all those like buttons are out there, just this whole network, and they've got your social graph, and they've got your interest graph, so they can easily launch that. Tyler, what are you thinking?
Facebook is announcing a press event around this new thing, and the rumor mill is that it's the video chat Skype integration.
Okay, I don't think that would be so exciting.
Facebook
But
Hangout on the same
But let's
link.
talk about things that have actually occurred as
if you
opposed to
have-
things that might.
if
Let's move on.
If
This
they
is
merge
boring.
those two social networks, which that could be kind of interesting, because I have.
Well, that was always my theory on Microsoft buying Skype, was that they've now got, the underpinnings of a social network that they could build. You sort of already have a profile on Skype. There's just really not a profile page. Just like Google launched profiles, and profiles begot plus one. Skype could launch profile pages, and profile pages could
And
beget.
this was the great failure of Facebook to not be public. Had Facebook been a public company, they would have been able to acquire Skype.
Yeah.
And I thought it would have been an unbelievably powerful combination.
Oh, yeah.
But they couldn't pay $8.5 billion in cash, and no one was going to take private Facebook shares. So as a result, they lost out to Microsoft.
Do you actually know that as a deal, or are you speculating?
I am, of course, it's pure speculation, but I can't imagine the board didn't say 700 million Skype users, 700 million Facebook users,
First
even
one to
higher
$1 billion.
engagement.
Yeah,
First
there's
one-
going to be overlap, but it might
on.
actually get them to $1 billion.
Yeah, I mean,
if there's less than 50% overlap.
At a 10 billion valuation, it would have probably added 30 billion to the market cap.
Yeah,
of that
would have been a
combined
good call.
company.
Would have been a good call. Let's go to the next story.
All right, so we'll keep on social networks for now. Once valued at over $1 billion, MySpace has now been sold by parent company NewsCorp for $35 million to ad network Specific Media. NewsCorp had allegedly been hoping to get more like $100 million for the property. The deal involves even deeper cuts to MySpace's staff, which is already down to about 400 people, plus the departure of CEO Mike Jones, who will remain in an advisory role to aid the transition. NewsCorp bought MySpace for $580 million in 2005, and they had a lucrative advertising deal with Google for most of their run with the company. Specific Media was founded in 1999 by brothers Tim, Chris, and Russell Vanderhook. So what do you think is coming for Specific Media and MySpace, and what do you think is the big takeaway from the downfall of the once great MySpace network?
Oh, there's so many lessons here.
So many lessons.
But, first and foremost, of course, they were obviously Facebook out-innovated, but this was a company that once it was within NewsCorp, it lost really any ability to innovate effectively. It also lost the ability to attract the best talent, because who really wants to work for a giant public company? So they couldn't give the stock upside to the new employees.
So there were technical issues. There were cool issues. I mean, I've never even heard of this company that bought them. This is just a fire sale. I guess they're going to try to ride the traffic out and make some money off of it.
Keep in mind, they were losing about 15 to 20 million per month, right?
Yeah.
So what it really tells you, I mean, maybe it doesn't matter to News Corp, but a year and a half, 2 years ago, there were buyers, I know that for a fact, who would have bought $150 million, maybe $200 million, and News Corp scoffed at it, all right? So in that intervening time, they lost $300 million in operating losses, and they gave up $150 million of a
This is
purchase
like
price.
staying in a hand too long. I've been in this poker hand before.
Yeah.
Tammy, what are your thoughts? Any thoughts on MySpace?
On MySpace, rest in peace. As far as it's interesting to see the difference between Facebook and MySpace. So if you had one's in LA, one's in San Francisco, and the thing that we hate and love about Facebook is the transparency issues. And when you would sign up for a MySpace account, you could be anybody. And I think at the end of the day, because they didn't have a innovative way to verify identity, kind of like what Facebook does, that in the end killed them.
Yeah, that was a huge misstep. Is allowing anybody to be anything, and the design, the speed of the site.
Along with that, I mean, when you allow
and the speed of the site,
right?
The speed of the site was terrible.
Always an issue, and it's been buggy for about a year.
One thing that's super fast and that's not buggy: Squarespace. I love Squarespace. I use it for the launch site. This is one of our partners, and thank you to them for sponsoring the program. 24-hour support for creating beautiful, professional-looking websites for your blog, photo gallery, large or small business. They have a full-featured iPad app, and they've updated their iPhone app. Sign up for Squarespace using the promotional code TWI30, and you'll receive 30% off for 3 months. go to thisweekend.com/contest/Squarespace. And we will, no, we shouldn't give them that big long URL. I tell you what, just email your receipt from Squarespace to contest@thisweekend.com, and we will give you a This Week in Startups bag. Show them the bag. Boom. There's the beautiful bag. Actually, I have a beautiful bag right here. There's the beautiful messenger bag with the very subtle This Week in Startups. You can use that on your bicycle.
I will.
You will if you had one. You have to go buy something from Squarespace.
I have to go, okay.
Yes, go get a Squarespace site.
I got to go to iStockphoto. I got to go to
Squarespace. You have to be loyal to the program as well.
assignments.
This is a very innovative thing. You've done some innovative things in your career, William. We only allow people to advertise on the show who use their product.
Oh, yes.
That is the key. And then we're sold out for almost a whole year now. And it's all due to the great support of people like Squarespace. Thank you. And go ahead.
So if I see any Depends diapers,
right, don't use them yet, but in 20 years. Right, but if I am using them, you can be sure that I am. Yeah. So thank you to Squarespace for supporting the program. Hey, with the MySpace issue, I think that in a way, Facebook is facing a similar issue now, in that you lose the avant-garde, both in terms of your staff, and you lose the avant-garde both in terms of your user base, and it's a sign that, it's not a sign that you're going to lose, but it's a sign that you could be in trouble, or you may have to up your game. And I think Facebook has that now. You have, like, the guys leaving to do Path and Quora, a lot of the best brain trusts leaving to go do other things. Now, the top avant-garde users on Facebook are like, I'm out of here. This is boring. It's, the privacy issues.
It also happens to coincide with the brands and marketers coming into the platform. Because I have no interest in following Johnny's porta potties on Facebook,
right,
and liking his, silly ass donut company XYZ. It's just ridiculous. Like, I don't want
the liking advertising mechanism is a joke.
Taints the whole experience, and Google Plus is
inauthentic.
It's totally void of all of that.
Right, and Google will keep it void of that because they don't need to make money off of it because it's a moat strategy, just like Android.
Who knows? But at least that's why it feels nice for now.
But it's not even advertising, too. It's like Reddit is going through similar things right now where everybody's complaining about all of a sudden, there's all these new people coming in, there's all these marketing people trying to use it to promote their stuff. And that's not necessarily paid ads. That's just it blew up, it got really popular, and now everybody who promotes things on the web discovered it as a great portal.
Tammy, you had a thought?
Oh, I just a suggestion for Facebook. I mean, I would pay, a couple $100 a year to actually have Facebook ad-free.
Yeah, I think I don't know why people don't do that.
A couple $100 a year to have every brand I go to 20 times a day to stop telling me to like them on Facebook.
The reality is,
yes, please, I like you. And you know what? It's like if you had a really good friend, and you've all had this friend who's like, do you or the girlfriend, like, or the boyfriend, as the case may be, or girlfriend, do you love me? No, but do you love me? You're like, I've said I love you a million times.
I love you a long time.
Yes, I love you for a long time.
We need a love button.
It is, but no, I think the like button is one of the most manipulative things. And I just emailed Sheryl Sandberg about this, where I was like, listen, Facebook does not work for publishers. I met with Facebook people, and I said, they were like, hey, you got to get involved, you got all these great videos. So we start uploading videos. I'm like, okay, where are the ads? Oh, we don't have ads on the videos. I was like, okay, well, you can add ads so that we can share revenue? We're thinking about it. I don't know. Okay, can I put ads on them? No. Can I get the metrics for them so that if I do product placement in them, I could see give that back to advertisers? No. Can I sell ads on my wall on my pages? No. That's against the terms of service. I'm like, what can I do? They're like, well, you can buy likes. I'm like, well, no. I can't pay my staff in likes. I can't pay the rent in likes. Do you pay your people in likes? They're like, no. So I said to them, hey, how about this? I'll give you 40,000 of I'll upload the Mahalo video library, 1,400 videos per week, 40,000 videos in the library already. You give us $2 per video per month in cash. No. Right. They almost choked when I said that, when I say cash. And then they said, why would we do that? I said, because you're going to get more engagement and views. And they said, no, we don't do that. And I said, okay, why don't you give me $100,000 a month in advertising credits so I can build up my like base? We don't do that. I'm like, so why would I invest in this ecosystem?
Yeah, right.
Because I get 70% of apps sold in the iTunes store, and I'll get 68% of AdSense revenue and 55% of YouTube revenue. So I told Sheryl, I took all developers off Facebook. Nobody in the company is working on Facebook. 100% working on Google's ecosystem and Apple's ecosystem.
Right. That will change, right?
And I said to them, but I said, do you? I can't be the first publisher to say this to you. And you know what they said? You are. I said, no. I said, the New York Times isn't going to come in here and, say they should pay for likes and that the engagement is worth it. They're like, and I was like, what? And they said they were here last week and they loved it. I was like, for what? Why do they love it? They're like, oh, it's engagement. I'm like, well, don't they want the engagement on their site? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. There's a lot of just looking at the numbers.
But you know what?
The numbers are good. They're moving up. So we're doing.
And let's face
All
it,
cumulative
right now,
numbers move
it's
up.
hot right now, or at least up until this prior conversation. Facebook is still the place. It's where every big company says we have to put some resources, but that will wane.
All right, let's go to the next story.
There's one other key difference here, which is all of these brands, right? They have somebody at their company that's called a social media guru whose main function is to increase their Facebook likes and friends, and that's a key metric they're judging their success on these things. Google Plus's platform, that doesn't exist. When somebody's following you in Google Plus, there's no metric for that. There's no, I have this many people that follow my pluses.
You can actually look at your entire circle, and it'll show you how many people are following you and how many you're following and all that stuff.
It's not a part of the.
It's not a game to see who can get the most likes.
It's not front page, and it's certainly not like Twitter where it's the primary thing you see on your
page. Other
page.
people can't see how many people are me, so there's no pissing contest.
You can see it about yourself, but other people can't.
But it's just,
there's no public list of that yet. And they had that same concept in Buzz, and then somebody made a third-party tool to check them.
What happens when the Facebook? Because it used to be how many MySpace friends that you had. That wasn't a thing at one time. I've got this many friends on MySpace, and bands used to be very
focused on that.
Incredibly focused, and that's why MySpace developed along the music lines it did.
And then,
and
Zuckerberg copied that. Yep.
And
Twitter.
Facebook does it, and Twitter. What happens when those go away? What do those brands do when they realize that a Facebook fan
what do they do when they realize it's meaningless?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they need to realize it's meaningless. And
organizations, particularly big organizations, are very slow to recognize what's meaningless.
Yeah, right. And they just, there's mid-level social media people, these companies, who actually think the number of likes has some relevance.
There are still people who advertise in the classified section of a newspaper.
Interesting. Okay, let's do the next story.
We should talk about Singularity U with Tammy while she's here. So it's a summer graduate studies program gathering students from all over the globe at the NASA Ames Research Center in Silicon Valley for 10 weeks to hear lectures from leaders in cutting-edge technology. It's now in its third year. The mission is to leverage the latest and greatest science to change the world for the better.
Interesting.
So I guess obviously we'd like to hear more about
how many people are in this program, Tammy?
There's about 80 people. There's 80 people spanning from 35 different countries. It's a super diverse group.
And you actually live at NASA.
NASA Ames. We have dorms. I mean, it's insane here. Our morning starts at 7 and ends at probably, officially at 7 p.m., but it goes on into the late hours of the night till 1 or 2. So just an amazing group of people just having the conversation of, what's going to happen. Technology is accelerating at an exponential rate. What are the responsibilities and what kind of challenges are we facing in the world?
And so the goal is to come out of it with a startup or to come out of it with a concept on how to make the world better. What are your marching orders? What's supposed to happen 10 weeks from now?
Well, I think that it's very entrepreneurial here. So yeah, I think the team projects, we do team projects on the 6th through the 10th week, so a full month. And I think they're trying to change the world through entrepreneurship. So it's trying to find solve the grand challenges of the world, whether it be through security, having a amazing new security system that affects it's called Into the Ninth Plus, so affecting 1 billion people in 10 years. So just with poverty, security, space, education, all of those things need to be addressed.
And the makeup is pretty diverse, you're saying? All different countries?
35 different countries. We have Saudis here. We have people from the UAE. We have Israelis, people from Kenya, Brazil, Argentina, the U.S., Canada.
Don't let them see the rockets. They'll know all our secrets.
We sell them to them anyways.
I would be remiss, Tammy, if I didn't ask you. You've written a lot about being a woman in Silicon Valley. 2 pieces, in fact, recently. How to deal with sexual discrimination. You wrote about not being invited to your favorite conference because you wouldn't have sex with the person who was running the conference. Pretty heavy-duty story. And then you wrote just recently about the Middle East and women in the Middle East. Who sexually harassed you that you couldn't come to a conference?
Well, no, we're not going to be mudslinging now, are we? It was
you wrote the piece, not me.
Yeah, and it's, mudslinging is not going to get me anywhere, and that's what, that's what the post was all about. It was about to raise awareness about this is still having value. It's still very much an old boys club, if you will. If you look at, third world countries and look at microlending like Kiva, most of their loans are to women, and they have a payback rate of 90-95%. That's huge. That's a great success in the finance world. But if you look at Silicon Valley startups, they're only backed, like 10% are only toward, women founders. So
you feel there's
dissect.
That's a statistic, but do you actually think there is active sexism? I mean, obviously, somebody just said to you, period, like, if you want to come to my conference, you have to sleep with me? Was it that, or was there some interpretation here?
Oh, well, I mean, it wasn't that blunt, but I mean, it's.
So it was implied? It was implied?
Everything's. I mean, no one's that stupid. Come on.
Right. So this person, whoever it was, implied to you that if you didn't have sex with them, you wouldn't come to the conference?
Yes.
Wow, that is fascinating. And this
it wasn't a New York congressman.
No.
I mean, I find this incredibly outrageous, and
The thing is that after I wrote that post, I mean, there was like 200 men that probably responded publicly, but my inbox of women, and behind the scenes was probably twice as much, and I'm still getting emails about it all the time, and they're just like, thank you so much for writing this piece because this happens to me. I thought I was the only one, and so I.
It's a very courageous thing to write this piece. I mean, how did you make the decision to hit publish on this? Because are you worried now that people are going to just think, hey, this woman is radioactive. I don't want to go near her. I don't want to be involved with her in a startup basis. Or do you feel that this, is not a negative? Do they feel that people respect you more?
I think people respect me more because of it. I had so many people, so much support. I had no idea how much support, was available to me. And I was very, very scared to press the publish button. I mean, I went back and forth on it for a couple of days, but I was just it was one of those things that I was just so enraged that if I didn't write it, it would come out later. It would come out in this passive aggressive kind of way. So I was just like, I'm just going to share this experience and put it out there. And I'm just shocked at how much it just, throughout the valley.
Yeah, it definitely did.
I will say, I still can't. I've been doing venture capital investing for 20 years, and I have never.
You won't invest in women, correct?
Of course, we will all invest in women.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. But I've wondered why the percentages
is it so low?
Are so low, and it's all speculation. But the only thing that seems like a reasonable explanation is just that there are so many informal networks for accessing capital and reaching contacts into the venture capital firms. And those are often things involving social activities where men tend to congregate more than women.
Okay, so it's an old boys club, but it's not intentional. Maybe.
You know what? I play golf and I kiteboard. I have a world record in kiteboarding, so it's like I.
Well, with the kiteboarding, you must have the most amazing. I'm going to start kiteboarding because all these rich and famous folks. Larry Page is kiteboarding. You ever go kiteboarding with Larry Page? You ever see him on the kiteboarding circuit?
No, but I'll definitely take him up on.
All right, Tammy, I know you have to leave, so I just want to ask you point blank. You wrote this. You wrote this blog post the week before TechCrunch. A lot of people speculated Mike Arrington was the person you're talking about. Tell us yes or no. Was it Mike Arrington?
No.
It was not Mike Arrington. You're absolutely definitively saying that. So it was another conference.
I was absolutely definitively saying it's not Mike Arrington.
Okay.
I just met Mike Arrington, I don't know, last week for the first time in person. So
good.
So no.
Okay. Well, now we've cleared that up. I know that you've got to go. you have a hard stop at 2. But let's go on to the next story.
Well, there was a Mike
Bye, guys.
Arrington.
Cheers. Yeah.
There was a Mike Arrington story.
No, I just wanted to get that out there
week.
because when this story came out, everybody's emailing me,
Right.
saying, "Oh, because Mike Arrington and I have had some differences in the past,
right.
whatever. Oh, you finally got, like this is Mike Arrington's going to take Mike Arrington down." And I was like, I think you're jumping to conclusions. There's 50 conferences a week.
Right.
You might want to, and that's why I wanted to put her on the spot and say, hey,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really, the issue pisses me off greatly because I have a daughter, and I think it's just really offensive, but. I wanted to hear from her, like, hey, it's not Mike Arrington, because it's everybody was tweeting and assuming this is Mike Arrington, this is Mike Arrington. And in fact, in the comments on a lot of these sites, that was the first thing people were saying. And it's kind of, I don't know why he didn't come out and say something, but.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that there is a story this week we could talk about with Mike Arrington if you're interested.
We had this discussion. No Mike Arrington stories.
But I mean, it's the news.
I know, but
you can't. You don't set the news. You can't comment on the news.
That's true. I comment on the news, but it's my show.
You don't decide the news.
I don't decide the news, but I asked you politely, please don't bring any Mike Arrington stories in, because every time I do it, then everybody says, "Oh, you're just axe to grind with Mike Arrington."
I think the audience is going to want to hear about this one, personally. I think we should talk about it. If you absolutely don't want to comment, you don't have to comment.
Well, I don't want to lose you as my news guy either. Are you going to be offended if I...
Yes, I think I would. I don't want you editorializing on my...
Well, I actually don't know what the news stories are when you say them, so if you hadn't told me, you could have just gone right into it, but then
Well, okay. So
all right, fine.
So PR consultant Vanessa Kimonis has written an editorial
we're doing it
for
then.
DigiDaily.
Go ahead.
Here we go. It's called Entrepreneurs Should Say No to Silicon Valley's Bully. She calls speaking with TechCrunch editor Michael Arrington a gamble, and she claims that he uses his blog as a personal vehicle for settling scores. Her quote's not mine. In particular, she calls out Arrington's recent post about Flickr and Hunch co-founder Katarina Fake, in which he claimed to have sordid details about her departure from Hunch that he was not revealing. Kimonis says that this behavior is, quote, bullying and unethical, and it leads her to advise clients to avoid giving interviews to TechCrunch. So, in your unbiased third-party opinion... Is the inherent publicity of talking to TechCrunch worth the risk of getting on Arrington's bad side?
It's the only game in town right now, let's be honest. I mean, so it is the paper of record for the Valley. Yeah. So until another one comes out, it's kind of hard to tell an entrepreneur not to do it.
Well, let me ask you this. Wall Street Journal versus TechCrunch.
Oh, much better to get Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
1,000 times better. I mean, and we'll have USA Today versus Wall Street Journal. I mean, if you've got a consumer product, that's where you want to be. Good Morning America, better than USA Today. I mean, you can just move up the food chain.
People read the Wall Street Journal in the Valley. So are you saying that it's just more accessible? TechCrunch is a more accessible platform?
I think it's the only game in town. Everybody reads it, so people think it's important.
Huffington Post? I mean, it's got increasing
bigger
readership.
Yeah.
In the tech
I don't
space.
think TechCrunch or any other publication is not going to make or break your startup. You're going to make or break your startup.
That's right.
The market, your execution. So I've always looked at press in the rearview mirror. By definition, it's a reflection of what you've accomplished, not really what you're going to do. So it's not important. What I do find fascinating about this is that there's a concept in poker called overplaying your hand. And if you keep raising and bullying the table and stealing the blinds, and you bully, which is a technique in poker, it works until everybody gets tired of it, and then they start calling you, and then you've made all these raises, and you have to fold, or you lose all your money.
Right.
I didn't quite get what the bullying was.
Well, he told a bunch of people, I guess at an event, he told everybody at an event Ron Conway had that they had to give the stories to him first, or they wouldn't cover their companies again. And he said GroupMe wasn't going to get covered because they gave a story to the Wall Street Journal. And then he said, if you don't come to me with your story, he's going to... basically take you out, which is what he told Katarina Fake.
Well, the Katarina Fake one...
The Fakey was a massive mistake on his part because she is so loved, and she's a female, so it looks like he's bullying even more.
Right. Their whole case was he had told her they were writing a story about her new venture, and then she preempted the TechCrunch
which
coverage
she's allowed
by doing
to do.
A post of her own.
Right, and nobody reads her blog.
Like, she
but even if that
moved in on the
happens, who
story.
cares? It's like you're still TechCrunch. It takes nothing away from TechCrunch ever. It's just insanity.
Right.
But a lot of times great editors have a little bit of insanity in them. Like
he then wrote a post saying basically like, I'm basically not, if I don't trust you, I'm not telling you I'm writing about you in advance, and I'm going to surprise you because I don't want to get one up.
He said he wants to hip check people. He wants to take them out.
And then he also said this thing about I know things about her and why she left Hunch.
So this sordid thing. That,
hinting that there was some sort of dirty secret there. Yeah.
Tyler, what are your thoughts? I mean, you dealt with Arrington for 3 years.
That's the classic Mike. Like, if if this is a surprise to you, then you haven't been paying attention.
Right, but it is interesting that Mike that a PR person is standing up to him.
That part's interesting. I think the most interesting part to me was the support she got from other journalists in her comments.
Yeah, that was interesting. Right in the comments, you have Scoble and Tom.
Karinsky, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people saying, "Hey, I agree." Paul Boutin from the New York Times even. Yeah, you can't. I think
not my other feeling personally about it is the tech community, because I came from fashion and music, and frankly, the tech community is incredibly nice relative to the music business and the fashion business, where it's incredibly cutthroat, where people will steal from you left and right all day long. Tech is surprisingly on the high road, and it's awesome how high road tech in general is. So it's interesting that I would think that being the case, it deserves a journalistic environment that sort of matches that. Because if the startups behaved the same way that Mike behaved,
yeah.
If a startup like not Facebook, Foursquare or Gowalla started doing some of the tactics that Mike does they would be excommunicated out of the technology community.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad behavior. Yeah. Hey, but until somebody stands up, and not only, the PR people standing up to him is awesome, I think, because people don't care about being blacklisted, which that means it's the beginning of the end for TechCrunch. Mm-hmm. But I have, this is why I don't want to go into these things, but I think what people should do, because I have such self-interest in this, having been former partners with him and now creating a competing brand, I basically said, there's no place to get your company covered anymore in a deep way. Like, there used to be so many sites that would cover including TechCrunch, that would actually cover the business. So here's what I've done at launch. If you go to launch.is, I can pull out my screen. But I hired somebody, Kirin Kalia, who's here, and she's doing things like this piece on Lendio, where she writes all about the launch of their product and the screenshots and how it works. Like,
really,
this is a full day's work. And she talked to 4 or 5 people, and she's been doing it every day now, and it's really coming out good. We just
I can get rid of some of my analysts and my venture firm. We can go there.
Exactly.
Do all the same work.
And so she's been doing 1 a day. I'm trying to get it to 5 a day. So if you know of any journalists, let's go to the next story.
All right. The last thing I want to say on that point is that by taking that type of a position, he's basically saying he's not doing this out of any love for startups. You're not covering startups because you are a friendly player in the ecosystem, and you're not doing this for goodwill.
There's no joy in his coverage.
There's no goodwill exercise in this at all. It's purely
mercenary.
Self-interest.
Yeah. Okay, next story.
So we got to talk about this one. Amazon warned earlier in this week that it would shut down its associates program in California if the state passed a proposed bill imposing new taxes on online retail sales. Essentially, that is exactly what then happened. Yes. Amazon has been battling with state legislatures over whether or not its transactions should include the same sales taxes required of brick-and-mortar retailers. They already, before California, had terminated affiliate programs in states like Arkansas, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, and Texas due to the same issue. I think I've heard a lot of very strong opinions on both sides. Does California have a right to impose these sales taxes on Amazon, or is that overstepping their bounds, and is Amazon doing the right thing by sticking to its guns here?
Right. I would say this. Look, if you want to encourage an activity or encourage a new form of business, as we wanted to do in the 90s, the early 2000s, you try to give them some incentives. One way was by Congress saying, we're not going to tax e-commerce. Now, as time has gone on...
That's the history of it.
That's the history.
Yes, we didn't know, just so people know the history of it. In the early days of the Internet, nobody knew where the transaction was occurring, right? Is it occurring on where the server's located, where the shipping comes from, where the company is headquartered, where it is delivered and the person signs for it, where the person's credit card is?
Yes.
Who should get it? If Amazon's in Seattle, the shipping company is in Texas, and the person lives in Virginia, where does the tax occur? Which state? And we said, hey, moratorium on taxes online.
Now, the reality, and that's true.
So you pay zero.
There are ways in many, many activities that we do in the states where we apportion taxes. The states have agreements. But the reality was we wanted to encourage this behavior. Now, traditionally how it's worked with taxation is if you have a physical presence in a state and you collect money in that state, you can get taxed, all right? Now, ultimately, let's face it, this is a pass-through tax. It's not Amazon that's paying it, it's the consumer who's paying it, right?
But Amazon obviously is really concerned.
Well, Amazon realizes that they've had anywhere from, in LA County, 9.25% advantage, because that's a sales tax, to 5%, depending on the state, advantage over the brick-and-mortar player. That's a huge, huge margin.
Except they have to deliver.
Yes, that's true. They have to deliver. But the reality is the consumer looks at it as they see a price and they add that shipping later in their heads.
Yes.
So, oh, that's a cheaper price. I think this was inevitable, by the way.
Of course.
It had to be, because there will come a day, maybe not in my lifetime, but maybe, where virtually 100% of commerce is done in some electronic fashion. Right. When that day comes, states aren't just going to say, oh, all retail commerce no longer taxed.
Now it matters. It's becoming material.
Yeah.
And states are screwed in terms of their budgets, so it's become doubly.
And that's the other reason.
It's become doubly material.
Right. And
if
if
it was Boomtown,
it's like this. When local cities say, hey, let's add taxes to the hotels and to rental cars, why does everybody in the city say it's okay? Because they're not renting those cars, and they're not in those hotel rooms. Those are visitors, tax to visitors. Yeah. In this case, we're hurting what? A Seattle-based company. We're hurting a Washington State-based company. So there's not going to be anybody, Republican or Democrat, in the state legislature who's going to say, we can't do that. Yeah. And the consumers, we're too diffused to be a strong enough voice. Yeah. Who it hurts, obviously, are the affiliates. All the people,
affiliates they had to turn off.
Yeah, all the people.
Now, why did they have to turn them off?
Because those are people who could legitimize the position from California's standpoint that you have a physical presence here, because those affiliates are here in California.
For you.
They're selling for you.
They're
they
like
have an office here. Yeah.
Like associates in a store.
Yeah. Right. So it makes the argument much more powerful that you should pay
So they
taxes.
cut that off, and that pissed a lot of people off because people were making money off of affiliates.
Yeah, let's face it. Who are these affiliates? These are small people. They're small businesses, effectively.
Yeah. It's basically been Black Friday.
The affiliates, if anything, could do something and organize, but the affiliates, as you know, are a bunch of Wild West type cats.
It is the Wild West.
They need to have their own little organization, right? Like the local car dealers.
They do, but I don't think they're going to win this one. Why wouldn't they do something simple like just say, all online sales are 1% in the place where the package lands.
Right, because
wherever
you know
it's
why?
shipped to.
Here's what I think. I think because what they realized was it's going to have no effect probably on people buying, people wanting to buy, and California can get 8.75% or it can get 1%. It's going to go for the whole shebang.
So why negotiate?
Why negotiate?
Why wouldn't the federal government get involved here and say...
It's not a federal issue, right?
Right.
Because a sales tax or a local issue or a state issue.
Right.
So
Amazon now has to settle with 50 individual states.
Yes.
And they pulled out of another state. Was it Illinois?
They pulled out of Illinois and Texas.
And they moved their shipping center out of it.
Yeah, there you go, right? A physical presence in the state is a good argument for why that state can say, we should tax you.
So they lost all those jobs.
Right. I think, by the way, I got to tell you, it feels like it's like gay marriage. It feels like the momentum is moving for states to say, we're going to tax you.
Yeah. So, the writing's on the wall.
Writing's on the wall.
But Amazon's going to put up the good fight to try to negotiate a settlement. What does it do to their business? Does that mean it's going to be a boom for local businesses? People are going to say, you know what? Paying $10 shipping and $10 in tax, $20, I might go down to the corner store.
Yes, let's face it, relatively speaking, and if you go online and you use a shop bot, you can see this is 10 cents more than this one, and you go to the one that's cheaper, right? With that kind of thing, when you add sales tax, that's a big deal. What they'll probably do is try to enlist the states, they'll try to enlist the consumers in California and say, do you realize this is costing you more because you're in California? But in the end, I think the states are going to win. They have all the power.
And the states are, I think, saying that consumers who buy and don't pay tax on stuff should start reporting it.
I haven't heard that. But
that is something I heard that they're going to start doing that. So you're going to have to report on your taxes.
Everything you buy online.
Everything you've bought online and settle that bill.
That to me
seems
will
insane.
be...
H&R Block is the real winner here.
Well, yes, it's going to be another line item.
But you and I know that's not going to happen. It's like how many people pay Social Security taxes for their domestic help.
Right.
Yeah.
It's too hard, not going to do it.
Interesting. Next story.
Okay.
Next and last. Speed round.
Okay, so Zynga, got to talk about Zynga's IPO. The makers of Farmville, Frontierville, and other huge wastes of your time have filed a $1 billion IPO this morning.
Huge.
They pulled in about $600 million in revenue last year, $90 million of which was profit. The news came as some other recent tech IPOs, LinkedIn and Pandora, seem to rebound
15% margin.
after recent dips.
Oh, by the way, let me put it this way.
50% margin in growth period.
This will be the reason Zynga is so exciting. And by the way, let's face it, Zynga has risen very, very rapidly. In 4 years, it's gone from 0 to 600 million. By 2013, one analyst said they will be doing $4 billion in revenue, $2 billion in free cash flow. And the reason you might be able to believe that is because the online gaming companies, guys like Tencent, for instance, in China, they are delivering 50% operating margins. It's unbelievable compared to almost any other form of business. Microsoft, in its best days as a monopoly, was doing 42, 45%. This is why Zynga will wind up being a 15 to 20 billion market cap company.
Yeah.
And by the way, the reason it's legitimately, and the reason it's such a great thing for anyone who's in the Valley, anyone who's in startups, particularly gaming or social commerce, is with that market cap, they're going to be on an acquisition spree.
Unbelievable. They're going to be out. It's funny money.
Right. It's funny money. And you think about this. This is a company that was built on the back of Facebook. It tells you where Facebook is going to be. I say Facebook will be $100 billion market cap company at its IPO filing, maybe $200 billion.
You think they're going to file in September, August, September?
I think they'll file a little later. They have that.
But this year.
I do think they'll file this year. I now understand why they hadn't filed before. It was all of these lawsuits over who owns Facebook.
Right.
They'll either try to settle those, or they'll try to go out. I think with some of these lawsuits, they will not be able to go public if they haven't resolved them because the public buyers will be too concerned about who owns the business. But they will wind up.
Well, there's only two: the Winklevoss and then this other.
And wasn't there within the Winklevosses get kicked
Well, the
out?
Winklevosses are now going back to Boston court, right? And
I don't think we've seen. I don't think we've heard the last. The Winklevosses had the reason their situation is so different is because they, with very good counsel and knowing how big Facebook was, had done a settlement. Now they want to recut that. The law doesn't like you recutting deals when you were well represented. Now this new lawsuit that says, hey, you gave me 50% of the business, that one I think is a wild card. Now Facebook's come out and said those are all fabricated emails.
The documents are not real.
If that is the case, that guy's going to jail. If that's the case,
the lawyers,
DLA Piper, who's representing him.
Well, didn't DLA Piper. They resigned.
I hadn't heard if they'd resigned.
Yeah, this week they did, but he got another law firm is taking it on.
If that's the case, though, that guy's in serious trouble because he has stated to a court that these are real. But what I wonder is, are there any others? Of all the companies I've ever heard of during my career in venture capital, I've never heard one that has had a more interesting story about who owns the business.
Sorted.
Maybe Sex.com.
Maybe.
Speaking of sorted.
Yeah.
DLA Piper dropped the Facebook case June 28th.
They dropped him, and he picked up another, but he got another respected law firm to pick it up. So there's something there. I mean, he's not denying that he knows the person or did work for him. Now he's denying, or that's the contract. They're saying that contract was altered.
Yeah. San Diego-based Jeffrey Lake is now taking over the case. New law.
I guess people will just read a settlement.
Ricky Lake's brother.
Yes, exactly. Last story.
Microsoft pulling the plug on their energy tool Home. They've announced plans to discontinue the Home service effective May 31st, 2012. Home offered more accessibility to consumers who don't have a smart energy meter installed.
Yeah, Google canceled theirs too.
Yes.
Right. Moving on.
Google recently shut down Power Meter as well.
Not important.
We'll move on to the next story.
Give us the next one.
Trying to load up my next page.
No problem. Look at that. We can pull up your iPad.
iPad
Let me see that. Let me pull up your iPad. Look at that beautiful Ranker site.
Look at that.
That's literally your iPad thanks to the TriCaster 850.
That is my iPad we're looking at right now.
That is. Can you put my laptop next to his iPad? I think they can do that with these guys and do the switching.
You can see what the next story is going to be right here.
No, but I could have Larry Page up, and then you could have yours up, and then Tyler, are you hooked in or no?
I'm told that I am.
Tyler's hooked in too. Put up all three of our laptops then. Go ahead, keep going.
So we should talk about LulzSec. The group of hackers calling themselves LulzSecurity or LulzSec announced on their website Sunday that they plan to disband after 50 days of hacking into secure systems. Within days of the announcement, law enforcement officials seem to be closing in on some members of the group. There was an FBI search on the Hamilton, Ohio residence of an individual thought to be involved, and British police also arrested somebody. So how do you think these hackers, if we end up catching some of these guys or the LulzSec guys or the authorities close in on them, how do you think they should be punished, if at all? And are there mitigating circumstances? How do you feel about these guys?
Here's, first of all, what I have to say is obviously what these guys do is breaking the law. You can't go in and hack into computer systems, reveal people's private information. Having said that, it is so darn easy to do it because big business pays no attention, serious attention to security. No. It's bugged me for years. They give lip service to it, but you ask any IT guy in a company how much the business is really willing to spend on security, it's not very much. That's the real problem. Lots of holes, and businesses think, hey, it's a cost. We're not making any revenue off increasing the security, whatever. Small fines by the government if we're found liable, we don't care.
My technotarian party, the political party I'm starting a political party. It's going to be called the Technotarian Party.
With the libertarian bent?
So it's the technological libertarian. It basically, we believe that all problems can be solved through technology and innovation. And if not all, most.
Well, I'll give you one. Traffic in L.A. Solve that.
We can. It's
Carmageddon.
Called the subway.
What do you do?
We put a subway down Wilshire Boulevard, and we put one down the 405. Problem solved. Technology. Boom.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's the simplest solution in the world.
That we don't have a train or something
I'm not so
bisecting the city like that is just complete insanity.
It's insanity. They're spending billions of dollars redoing the 405. They can't make one lane for a train.
Land, they're just demolishing.
Problem is, if I want to go home,
they're cutting
the piece of our
I know the Mulholland Bridge is going, and then they're cutting the mountain out. They're in this city. They'd rather cut the mountain out than run a. They can cut half of a mountain. When you go up the Sepulveda Pass, they're literally cutting, like cutting a piece of cake. Doop, the whole mountain's coming off.
Right.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, that mountain's going to have to come off. Yeah.
They basically cut the mountain off.
Yeah.
Instead of running a train, we're going to cut a mountain out and put a lane of traffic. It's insanity. But anyway, the technotarians believe that LulzSec and Anonymous are actually our own special forces.
Interesting.
So we believe that dishonesty in the world and people who need to be taught a lesson will be done so through technical means. But we actually don't condone any illegal activity. But we do realize that some people...
But you were a political party, you'd be in favor of changing the laws.
Well, we believe that people need to do what they need to do in their own personal conscience.
Wink.
So if you feel that Sony going after a hacker is a bag move, I think it's a bag move, like a little hacker figures out how to mod his PlayStation, and another group of hackers decides that that behavior was unacceptable to them. I'm not saying I feel this way. And they take down Sony. Maybe Sony got what they deserved. Maybe this is the new way to conduct.
But a lot of power in the hands of a few.
Oh, it absolutely is. It is, but so are big corporations. Don't have a lot of power.
Well, that's different.
Now,
big corporations don't manipulate the law, and they don't have lobbyists. Who's looking out for the little guy?
We're looking at a very
I think
scary
these guys,
future.
It is a scary future for those people who are D-bags. I think if you're a bag, they're going to go after you. But if you're a good person, they're not going to. So they're going after the Arizona bags who are pulling over Spanish people. And because they're Spanish. I mean,
I believe it. Politically,
these are freedom fighters.
Politically,
they're
I
not
think these guys and I are on the same side.
Jason Calacanis believes that largely this is a group of freedom fighters, not terrorists. I think that their behavior might be illegal under some circumstances. I do not tell them to go do illegal stuff. Certainly, they may have gone over the line.
Hamas call themselves freedom fighters.
Yes. Listen, it all depends.
Contras, the long proud history.
The long list, but I believe that they are.
Yeah.
I believe they are. I believe that putting hackers in jail for and you have to look at the type of hack. See, there's two different types of hacks. There's the hack where I go in and I take all your money.
The law looks at these differently too.
Yes.
And then there's the hack that I did a denial of service. The law does not look at those differently. If you denial of service somebody or you steal credit cards, they're still going to go after you for,
but the punishments are different. I mean, if you go steal credit cards, there are specific laws, about taking credit cards and using them, selling that.
But there's still felony breaking and entering.
They're both felonies.
And then taking people's private information and making it public.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that what they're doing serves such a noble purpose in that they are letting people know exactly how dumb they are for having password as password,
Right.
Or their first name. You look at these lists of passwords that you just go to LulzSec and you just look at the list of passwords that they're exposing. It's all these police officers are using passwords that are like password and secret. It's like, really?
Right. Username is username and password is password.
It's secret. Secret 1 2 3, and it's like, okay. But yeah, I think we're entering the law cannot keep up.
No.
Due to technology, corporations cannot be reined in until after they've stolen, raped, and pillaged and cratered. And now you have this new. I'm just looking at it as an emergent system. I actually am not pro anybody destroying anybody else's business. I don't want to say I am. But I understand where they're coming from, which is when you crush people and make them feel so powerless,
right,
they are going to find some way to be powerful. And that's what they've done.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's that more of our day-to-day interactions are moving online. And in the online domain, that person has more power than the sheriff. Where in the offline domain, the sheriff has more power.
Right.
And as we're moving more into online, there's a different dynamic at play that the old school is going to have to come to terms with.
Yeah, there is also the issue of innocent people in the crossfire. I mean, the Sony thing you were talking about, like, sure, it's very big black eye for Sony, terrible for Sony's business. Right. But there's also a lot of private individuals who had their information stolen, now compromised.
That's the thing that sucks.
Yeah, so I think that's why it's a really difficult issue.
Well, those are where the tactics, like, hey, if I protest in the street, am I allowed to do that if you can't get to work that day?
Right.
And if the ambulance can't get through and can't pick up the person who dies from a heart attack because of the protest, is it the protester's fault?
Right.
And if I have
to win their big game, that's what.
If I have to blow up a bus in order to get my point across, and some people happen to be on it, is that okay or not? Some of these questions are easy.
It's not okay.
I know. But my point is,
on the bus.
my point is, some of these are very easy to answer, and then other ones are harder.
Yeah.
Like the ambulance not being able to get through across the Brooklyn Bridge because there's a protest. You say, well, people have the right to protest, but depending on if you believe in the protest, it's probably going to be if you believe that they're responsible for the death or not.
Right.
But it's a complicated world, and I think
gray issue.
In terms of startups, as you were saying, people not paying attention. This is a huge opportunity.
It is, and I've invested in security companies. This is why I
have they done well?
To it. Most of them have not. They've struggled with great technologies, and it's
people won't take it seriously. They won't cut the check.
Right, because most corporations say, I really am not going to get blamed, and I'm really not going to lose anything if I don't invest in the best security.
Yeah.
There's no penalty for it. And the worst part is a lot of these corporations who work with you and me and other individuals demand all of our private information, but they don't secure it.
Yeah, I think the companies not securing the private information are really at fault.
Yeah.
it's really bad.
Right.
I think two-factor authentication is going to have to become the standard.
Biometrics,
two-factor. It's going to. I don't know why Apple doesn't have a thumbprint on here, and there's not software to do an iris scan. There must be software for an iris scan on a Mac.
There is software now. There's a company called Aoptics that does all this now. If you go to
Is it an investment or no?
I have an investment in the company.
Aoptics.
AOPTIX.com. If you go to Gatwick Airport now, as you go into the international terminal, you get iris scanned.
Wow.
Right.
That is
Minority Report.
That is the Minority Report right there. And so they iris scan you.
They iris scan you as you submit your ticket to get in, and this is what's beautiful. Then when you go to board the plane...
Here it is right here, look at this.
When you go to board the plane, they also iris scan you to make sure the guy with the ticket who got security...
is the person who picked it up.
Because what was happening in the international terminals, people were swapping tickets so that the guy from Pakistan could give it to the other guy and get that
back
guy
to here,
into the U.S.
Yeah.
So it's a huge hole. Iris scanning is coming. It's on our borders now. I think this is great. And the reason iris is so much better is because the fingerprint, really poor working because you get a lot of dust and wet and dirt dust. Yeah. Iris is almost as good as a blood sample.
And we had that thumbprint scan on the front door
at Mahalo. We got the new one.
Yeah, the new one seems to work better. The old one's like 8 tries to get it.
This is...
As you said, Jason, two-factor authentication is where we're going to have to go. There's so much information about ourselves that's online.
I want this on... have they considered making a consumer-grade product that I could...
business
software?
One. Yeah, business one. So when you go to the front door, boom.
Yeah, I would know, but I would like when I turn my laptop on or somebody here is at the office.
That's the next
only
phase.
there. You have the iSight camera here. Is that camera any different than the camera in your iSight?
The camera has to be a little different because getting the a clear picture of the iris is involved. But what'll be really interesting is when it gets on the phones, because we all know your phone is becoming your e-wallet.
Yep.
And let's face it, when that phone gets stolen, man, lots of bad things can happen to you.
Yep.
If there's at least a biometric, but the iris being the best.
Awesome. Well, this has been This Week in Security. Thank you to William Quigley. It's awesome stuff. Hey, Tyler, enjoy the rest of your time in Clearwater. Thank you.
There's some big group that's housed in Clearwater. Who's down in
Some
Clearwater?
organization.
I don't know.
There's some big company that's down there.
It's a big company,
It's a
Seattle.
beautiful city of the future. You would enjoy it, Lon.
It is.
Maybe
Okay.
I'll come down. Hey, Lon Harris, thank you for reading the news, even though I banned you from doing Mike Arrington stories. And you did them anyway. It's okay. I don't want to lose you as
I
my
have
news person.
integrity. I'm
Okay,
a journalist.
Fine.
I think, it's funny. I think you can always watch as a Battlefield Earth. You can always watch it in the movie theaters down in Clearwater.
Oh, really? Battlefield Earth?
They're big fans down there. I guess.
Awesome.
Great movie.
They love Travolta.
Great film. I like
great
that film,
film.
actually. It's underrated sci-fi film. And thank you to Squarespace. Thank you, Squarespace. And thank you to iStockphoto. Two great companies. You're going to try it for the next week.
I'm in, yeah.
Then we'll pull up those results. William Quigley, thank you for coming on the
Thank
program.
you,
People can, of
guys.
course,
This was fun.
they can find you at, what's your website, your blog?
Well, my
Quigley
blog
Report.
is QuigleyReport.com, and then, of course, my firm is Clearstone.com.
Clearstone, yes, the great venture capital firm. And you can follow him at Quigley Report on Twitter. Tammy Camp, thank you for being on the program. Enjoy Singularity University at Tammy Camp. And thank you, Tyler. Thank you. And I will see you all next week on This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Introducing the newest members of the This Week in Startups producer program. On today's episode, we welcome William Quigley of Clearstone Venture Partners and investor, advisor, and entrepreneur Tammy Camp.